points. You just walk around pointing with tremendous power. And we've got Chris at the back there. None of us would be here without Chris. Is that the truth? Founder of Abergavenny Food Festival. One of them. Well, there's the other one. We don't talk about him very much. I'm going to be very brief because there's a debate to get out of the way, and then there's lunch, which is the most important part of the day, and the one time that I checked in with Claire, which dictated my arrival time. So I'm going to whiz through this. Patchwork Foods was established by my mother, who sat at the back, and Jenny, her partner, 30 years ago. And the reason why I'm going to do this part of the presentation is called "You Can Teach an Old Dog New Tricks," is that we're very creative as a family, and anyone that works with us has had to live with the frustration of us sort of vomiting up endless new products and endless new ideas, which I can tell you without any embarrassment, most of them fall flat on their face. But we get to eat them, and we enjoy them. That's the first slide. That's my mother and Jenny on there. And in the left-hand corner, it's a little bit bleak on there. If you want to find out more about Patchwork, then there's the website. But that's the jar that the business was started with. That's Patchwork preserves. And the reason why we're not here talking to you about preserves or the offcuts of the patchwork quilts that Mum was making that went on the top of the jars is because pâté sold better than everything else. We're not one of those companies that had a recipe which Mum was being nagged to share with the world. She just had a nagging necessity for cash to heat the house and feed the kids. I'm going to skip over that. These points here used to be a big deal. Now they're just entry level. There was a time when when handmade small batches, blah blah blah, was a big deal. Now it's just standard. So we tend not to labour on that too much. We now, because of the fantastic team we have at Patchwork, they've got us to focus on pâtés, reminding us that's what we do, that's what we're best at. The chilled pâtés and the frozen pâtés obviously have their place, but the new tricks bit I want to focus on, only for really a couple of minutes, is we got two Italians arrived in the UK, and it's not a poem this, or a nursery rhyme, by the way, but two Italians did arrive in the UK, and they were looking for they wanted to open a pâté factory. So they went down to see a couple of people. Emma MacDonald, who's here tomorrow, if you're in the market hall at 4 o'clock from Baytree, she's speaking on doing a pickling presentation. But they approached Emma and they said, look, we need some advice. We want to open they obviously had much better, stronger Italian accents than mine currently is. And they said they wanted to open a pâté making factory. So she said only an idiot would open a pâté making factory, and she recommended a very good idiot friend of hers, which was us up in North Wales. And he said he wasn't interested because he didn't want to work with his competition. So he had the same conversation with 3 different women being told the same thing, which is unlike a man, really. But obviously that's just Italian men that struggle to take good advice from women. And finally he called us up and told us his plight, and he sent over a jar of this pâté that they make over in Italy with a magnum of red wine. So as you can imagine, the decision-making process was fairly straightforward. So they taught us the way of making pâté in a jar. Now most pâtés that are made in jars are retorted, and all I know about retorting is it takes it to a very high temperature for a very long period of time and makes it very, very safe. But also through the process it removes an awful lot of the flavour. And when we talk about products at Patchwork, irrespective of what they are, we talk about their personality and their character. If we're struggling to explain what the peculiarity of a product is, I might say in the office, right, whose illegitimate love child would this product be? It's got to have, if it's fiery with classy parts to it, you might say it's the love child of Rhys Ifans and Kate Winslet or something like that. So you talk about the personality and the character of products, and they should have personality and character. People like Pete, who's speaking later, that talks about cider and beers. I'm not a big fan of cider or beer. I don't drink cider or beer. But then when you sit down with somebody that knows about them and they explain about the peculiarities and the subtleties and the matchings, then suddenly you understand what it is. So anyway, getting back to the story. So they brought us over this anchovy and caper pâté, and anchovies, they polarize people in a way that Marmite could only dream of. we are massive fans of anchovies. So, we consumed this whole jar of pâté. It was about a £1 in old money, like a 450 gram jar of pâté, and the magnum of wine went just as quickly. And we launched this anchovy and caper pâté, and it looked fantastic, and it tasted fantastic, and we launched this jar, and we sold very little of it. And of course, as a creative, dynamic family, that didn't put us off at all, but some people within the factory were sort of tapping their fingers a bit. So I happened to be sat, as all these stories, long stories go, in a van on London Bridge with Guy Toolberg from Tracklements. And Guy had just launched with Tracklements, who this iconic company from the southwest, who, if you haven't heard of, shame on you. He said, "How's your new jarred pâté going?" I said, "Oh, not great, Guy, not great at all." I said to him, "Well, how's your new chilled salsa going?" Because they're a jarred company, they launched into the chilled market. No, he said, not good at all. I said, "Oh, this is frustrating, isn't it?" I said, "Because I've had your salsa, and it's amazing." He said, "I've had your pâté, and it's amazing." He said, "But," he said, "I was talking to someone today, and they told me that apparently you can't have a range of one." So we, as guys do in vans parked on London Bridge in the traffic, we sort of contemplated this idea of a range of one. And he said, apparently the rule is, a range has got to be 3 or more. So we took this sage advice that we'd been given, and we called up the Italians and said, "Look, we need more jars, we need more things." They're not the most motivated couple of businessmen, I must tell you. And the idea of sort of teasing additional recipes out of them wasn't easy, and they gave us 2 more. So the Italian range became 3. That went so well that we wanted to increase it to 6. So we knew this, we had this multiple of 3. So the Mediterranean joined them. Now, the reason why they're called Italian and Mediterranean, not Welsh or not British or Scottish or whatever, Northern Irish, is because they got quite a different flavour profile to them. If you tasted one of our pâtés and you tasted one of the jars, there's a different flavour profile to them. Because they've got a tartness to them and a sharpness to them and a sweetness to them. And we knew as the public and the double-edged access through social media, they would let us know as soon as possible. So we decided to call them that. And we've been battling to find a product we could launch that would be more British. And last year, Jenny was talking with Will, the founder of Chase, and his son James. He mentioned their smoked vodka. Jenny knew in the back of her mind, she had wanted to do something with the Helen Mon smoked water, and she also had been approached with somebody with some smoked chicken livers. So that recipe fell into place, and the Chase range was launched. If you come to the stand tomorrow, you can have a look at them and taste them. But the range now of 12 is we then introduced a Welsh product, 3 Welsh jarred pâtés. We have one based on Snowdonia, one based on the Brecons, and one based on the Clwydian mountain range. So the Clwydian mountain range has got a local rosy cider in it, the Brecon has got the Penderyn whiskey in it, and the Snowdonia has got the shiitake mushrooms in it. So I just wanted to share that with you. Now, what that's done for us as a company has enabled us. So if we were selling to a shop or to a wholesaler or to a business, previously we'd say, "Do you want to buy our chilled pâtés?" They say, "We haven't got a fridge." No. Or we'd phone up hamper companies would phone us up all the time. "Can we buy from you? Do you have it jarred?" No. So what that means is when we speak to a business, even an obvious business, say like a butcher, butchers. They're one of my favourite species of retailers to deal with, because they have this like supreme mathematical brain, and everything with butchers is margin. You don't have to tell them. You tell them the price. You give them the RR. You give them the recommended percentage markup, and they cascade out the idea, and they'll buy it depending on the money they can make. Then the jar reduces the double handling of cooked meats and raw meats, which cut-in pâtés introduce. And also the jar introduces this fantastic word, which is very important in 2014, which is it eliminates waste, because it has a longer life on it. It has 12 months. I do try and say to them, we're not trying to sell them a museum piece, but it does, reverse the risk somewhat. So that's the old dog, new tricks. Now, I'm not saying any of our family are old dogs, but we're certainly happy to be taught new tricks, and the jarred pâté has introduced something quite dynamic to our company, and quite obvious, but something that we struggled with and battled with to launch. I'll leave that up for a second. The social media side that was mentioned before is important. I have verbal diarrhea on Twitter. Whatever thought comes into my head goes onto my Twitter account. You'll notice with my bio, it distances myself greatly from Patchwork, the company, and that was a request from a lot of people from within the company. If you have a look at my tweets, you'll understand why. The Patchwork Twitter account is prevalent. Mum used to be allowed to tweet on that. She was then removed from being allowed to tweet on that, but that's another story. And of course, Facebook and Twitter. Websites are nearly null and void now. The functionality of a website is becoming more and more of a mystery to anyone, as a frustrating and laborious. No one's here who owns a website developing company, do they? And just on the note, leading on from what Pete said, I was fortunate enough to be speaking with Stephen Fry, and we got onto the topic of why he never does any paper interviews. The only interviews he'll do are verbal, recorded, because they can't be misquoted. And I said, what if the Sunday Times phoned you up? He said their readership is only 300,000. His followers on Twitter is 6 million. And that's what he says to them. He says, my readership is greater than yours. I don't need you. So as companies around here and businesses and tourist things, if we could get our membership on Twitter or our followership up to, let's just say for argument's sake, 300,000, we would have an equal readership to the Sunday Times. So they are very, very powerful tools. And finally, this will only take a second, is this time of year for us, it's always funny when we come down to Abergavenny as a company, because this is a quiet time for our year commercially, as in we're not selling very much this time of year. So we're paying out a lot. So this is our as an agricultural term, we're planting at the moment and we'll harvest at Christmas. But one of the nice things that came in, I don't know, last week or the week before, was we received the Best Welsh Speciality Product from the Great Taste Awards. Now, I'm not holding this up just to go, yay, aren't we amazing? My feeling has always been with regard, Wales used to have the True Taste Awards, and the government in their wisdom put that to bed. But the awards are very important for all producers, and I know they bleed out into tourism and all other aspects of an industry within Wales. For us to win this and for us to talk about this, and we'll be doing a lot of media over the weekend speaking with journalists, is what we're talking about is the best Welsh speciality. So the word that keeps coming up is Welsh and it is Wales. And whenever companies do well in competitions, Welsh companies do well, it reflects great on the whole industry. And I would urge and recommend as many people here who can to enter the Great Taste Awards to do it, because the more Welsh companies or the more companies associated with Wales that do better, it raises the profile. Journalists, this drip, drip, drip effect, the more they hear about it, the more likely they are to write about it. And the reason why I've no hesitation whatsoever in shouting about the award we won is because the Great Taste Award limits the awards to 10,000. So that's the maximum entry that can go in. So we entered in our red pesto vegan pâté into that. We didn't enter in every pâté we do, but this pâté, by chance, was one of the few of our pâtés that didn't have an award. So we entered it in, and so from 10,000, they give out 1 star, 2 star, and 3 stars. So they gave out, in short, out of the 10,000, they gave out 152 3 stars, of which one of ours was one of it. If that had been it, I'd still have been telling you about it now. Then they rejudged the 153 stars to get down to the bottom 50. So then from 10,000 to 153 to 50, and we were told about that, and again, I was delighted. Then we discovered that they then rejudged the 50 to get that down to about 18 or 19 into about 5 or 6 categories of 4, of which then go on for their individual awards. So this pâté here got sent down from North Wales down to the southwest. It was up against 10,000 international products, including biscuits and meat and lamb and tea and coffee and every consumable, beer and cider, everything you can imagine within food. And it got 3 stars in 153, down to the bottom 50, and won its category. So it's the 9th best product with regards to the Great Taste Awards. I'll say in the world. It's an international competition, so it's in the world. So we are so proud of this, and we're very proud of it because we think it reflects fantastically on Wales. It honours the work that our manufacturing team do back in Wales. I always try and say to them, I know when at 6 o'clock in the morning when you're up to your elbows in frozen liver, it probably doesn't feel like you're producing the most glamorous product on earth, but I say your product moves people. The tweets we get, the Facebook message we get, it moves people. And what they produce with tremendous care in tremendous volume is something which my mother and Jenny are very proud of. So I promise to be short as we go to the debate and to lunch. So thank you very much indeed for your time.